And hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of On .NET Live. I hope everybody's well. We're not at our usual time, but you will know pretty soon why. So I'm Frank Boucher, your host, and for one of your hosts. And today we have a very good episode. With me, I have Katie. Hello, Katie.
Hello.
And our special guest today is Vic Perdana. Hopefully I pronounced your name correctly. If not, I'm sorry.
That's all right. All good.
And do you want to introduce a little bit of yourself and maybe explain why are we doing this episode at this time?
Yeah. I'm based in Melbourne, Australia. So timing can be a bit tricky. Trying to adjust to that normal hours, because initially we booked around 4 a.m. local time. So yeah. But yeah,
you're not your best at 4 a.m. Vic?
Yeah, as much as I love to that, probably coffee is not enough for that.
No kidding. Well, we're very happy to have you on at this time. So, flexible and global. So this is a community show, right? So it's awesome.
Super excited. Yeah. Yes. I would love to introduce me a little bit about myself, if you'd like me to do that.
Yes. Go. The floor is yours.
Okay, brilliant. And thank you again, Frank and Katie, and also everyone who joined in today's session. Today is about showing you a little bit about real world sort of AI demos, with particularly new Microsoft Agent Framework and how we can marry that, and grounding it to real world scenarios. So I'm in the field, so I do a lot of work with customers, and I can probably extrapolate those experiences into something real and kind of trying to build something that is close to what we do and what our kind of customers are facing. I think that's probably maybe something of use for the audience. And I've been at Microsoft for several years now. Previously, I was ISV. I worked with ISVs, or independent software vendors, as an app dev architect, helping their software vendors pretty much modernize their platforms with Azure and GitHub. These days, I focus on dev tooling, and particularly how AI fits into the kind of real dev workflows. And outside of that, I'm a bit of a Semantic Kernel fanboy, and Semantic Kernel is the kind of the current version, a production grade version, and we just recently announced kind of the next evolution of that with the Agent framework, which I'm going to talk about shortly. And you can find me on LinkedIn or GitHub if you want to get the demos as well. So what is this about? So we'll cover what Agentic AI really is, why it matters now, and how particularly that newly minted Microsoft Agent framework that was just announced probably about 4 weeks ago, can be fit into this. And obviously this is a .NET show, so I'll be using .NET code to demonstrate that. And the other thing that I was just going to say is also, this is a practical guidance, right? To build something that is grounded on your business process using workflows. And I had a similar, had actually done a demo on this with Semantic Kernel, and I wanted to show how it's done in the new Agent framework. So by the end of this, hopefully you know when to use agents and how to structure them as kind of modular services, and how then you can orchestrate that multi-agent workflows that typically are found in many businesses whenever they, have some current kind of business process, whether that's employment onboarding, whether that's borrowing something from from the library, books from the library. So all of those are workflows and process. And I'll show a quick demo, and hopefully we can relate to that. And so again, why we're hearing the buzz about agentic AI and all that stuff. So here's the reason. But the main thing in there is that in no more than 3 years, there's a prediction that anything that is not connected to AI will be considered broken or invisible. That's our deputy CTO, Sam Silis from Microsoft, predicted that. But there's a lot of those predictions as well. And I wanted to sort of preface this and zoom out a little bit around, hey, there's a lot of progress being made on the models and the underlying kind of models like Anthropic, OpenAI, even X from X.AI, and so many other companies. But in terms of products, we are actually seeing there's a bit of a capability gap. So the products that we have today, whether that's we do shopping, whether we do, I guess, going out, book travels and stuff like that, it hasn't been caught up. I think there's a lot of gaps in terms of making that user experience can fit into the new AI world. And there is a nice slide or presentation that Andre did, Software is Changing Again, which basically highlights or encapsulates what the experience should be. And this is my favorite as well. Obviously, hopefully, Katie and Frank, you're a fan of Iron Man. But he actually highlights the concept of the autonomy slider, right, or slider of autonomy. So the experience of agents is that it allows you to have full control from the left-hand side, or you want to be able to delegate that control to agents. So in a way, if you think about Tony Stark on the first Iron Man, he builds a suit. He's still the pilot, but the suit makes him stronger and faster. On the right, we've got agents. So on the Iron Man 3, or the end game or the later part of Iron Man, is that the suit flying itself while Tony's sort of controlling on the side. So basically, just like building a software, and what Andre kind of highlights is that there is going to be a new user experience that we need to build in terms of agents, and it can vary from the basically augmentation, which you don't give any control to agents, to full control of agents. So that's a little bit of that, and there's a lot of work that needs to be done around this, and there's going to be a lot of businesses that trying to build that next gen software 3.0, as Andre called it. And let's kind of review what agent means, and this is based on dictionary. Agency is the ability to take action or to choose what action to take. That's really kind of the underlying. This has been defined from when English was around, obviously, and that's basically the underlying difference of agent and assistant. And in terms of what at its core, an agent is an entity with agency, right? So the ability to decide and act. It's not just a chatbot. An agent has that memory, has purpose through instructions, and has capability through tools. And then it has then builds and resulting in output that connects back to your business process. This is where agent is useful, and when it can be grounded into to your business process. And again, that agentic AI is basically those three components, right? That is really key. And an agent can plan and adapt to new information and execute tasks, and that's really kind of the basic definition of it as a starting point. However, here's the reality check, right? Productionizing agents is really hard, and there's at least three challenges that we see, is that what I see in the field, is that how do we persist context across interactions without complexity, and how we can make sure that that is manageable. Say you build a stateful application and you need to pass in memory or context information from one part of your business process to another part of business process. Say I don't know, if you want to shop for something, you wanted to shop for like a TV, what would be a nice stand for that TV, or nice soundbar for that TV. So basically having that stateful interaction is important. And the other thing is also control, and hand in hand with predictability. How do we ensure agents behave reliably and in a way follow our business goals, follow our guardrails? Because as we know, LLM or SLM for that matter, actually have that underlying kind of neural networks that based on predictability, right? So the attention is all you need, based on that Google paper in 2017. That's pretty much the underlying kind of network architecture of Gen AI as we see today. And this is where control predictability really important, to ensure that they can follow kind of some guardrails. So I'm going to go through quickly how do we do that in the past. So to address those challenges, we had announced before called process framework within Semantic Kernel. And this was a separate sort of more kind of initial sort of attempt on how we build kind of some sort of guardrails. So we have it's just a separate package, I guess, in Semantic Kernel, and this has been combined in Microsoft Agent Framework. But yeah, the key thing is that we've got process orchestration, defining that clear steps and logic, step 1 to step 5, and then you have the autonomy, enabling that level of reasoning and planning, and also tools for your benefit. Cool. And the next evolution of this is basically Semantic Kernel and Autogen have basically an attempt to bring together the best of both worlds, with Semantic Kernel being the production grade that a lot of our businesses, a lot of our customers are already using, and Autogen has that robust multi-agent framework and provides those orchestration, advanced orchestration patterns. And that's the research component, and Semantic Kernel is a commercial sort of application, and we bring that together into what we call agent framework. And this is what we have. It is open source, it's still open source and community-driven, extensible, and it supports currently Python and .NET. Hopefully more languages coming. And this will be basically what we're going to be investing going forward. A lot of investments are being poured into this new agent framework. And let's zoom into orchestration, and then I will do a quick deep dive into demos. So the multi-agent orchestration is basically from the power of Autogen, right? So you have that Autogen advanced orchestration capabilities and Semantic Kernel's workflow orchestration using process framework, and then we basically combine that together. And we can see that there's a lot of kind of different patterns that we see here. So we've got sequential, we've got concurrent. So this is basically what agents, how we can orchestrate agents, right? So for example, in sequential and concurrent orchestration, they kind of basically as you can see in the diagram, is that sequential start from step 1, step 2, very kind of form filling process. Basically, you start from step 1 to kind of onboard an employee, whereas concurrent orchestration might be, hey, you might have a shopping assistant or shopping sort of agent that allows you to be able to process that concurrently, or maybe there's different business process that allows you to ensure that things don't have to wait from one process to finish. And the handoff, that typical kind of general type approach where you have, you have a big task and then it needs to go and talk to specialized agents. So that's really, hey, I've got a general agent and I've got a specific agent that can do writing, can do reviewing, can do editing, and stuff like that. And then we can see group chat, and pretty much as what it says in there on the diagram. And we've got Magentic and workflow process. The Magentic one is quite interesting. Is basically, hey, it gives you that ability to, it gives the agent ability to make decisions until it satisfies the need. So, for example, hey, I've got $1,000 that I want to invest. Let's put it on the stock market and just make sure you give me the best return, and you do some analysis and stuff like that. That allows you to give that level of autonomy to the agents. And the workflow process is something that we're going to be talking about, and probably going to skip that for now, and I will talk to that in the example. So that's the workflow process. And what I have is a quick demo on how I build this. So we have to this multiple scenarios, but before we get in, I'm just going to check in with Katie and Frank. Any questions so far? Are we good?
People are just like waiting to see your demos.
Okay.
And I
Awesome.
joined late. The time change of the show threw me off today. I'm sorry, folks.
Okay, no worries. Yeah, if there's any questions, let me know, and then we'll.
It's all good right now.
Okay, great. And I'm going to show you what it looks like. And this is basically, there's two paths that I can see, right? So one is greenfield. So say you've got a high value workflow, whether that's around whatever business process that you have, and you want to capture the current steps and then define the success metrics, and then implement multi-agent or single agent even with that narrow mandate. Whereas the second path is, you're trying to redesign your business process to, and that this business process may need some level of autonomy or has some level of autonomy. For example, if there's a gray area of policies in your onboarding process, then it might you might want to let that decision be made using agents, and then you set the thresholds on that. So what I have here is that it's very, very simple, and this actually relates to what I do I do a lot of kind of monthly webinars, and what I have here is that a process where it shows you how I've got a video and I wanted to upload that video to this agent tool, and it will give me it will convert that into a blog post. So it's simple as that. So basically, you've got a video, whatever the format is, and it will then transcribe that video, and it will generate that blog post, and then also you can step into a separate agent to evaluate that blog post to make sure that it meets your standards. And then you can introduce human in the loop if you want, to be able to say, hey, I want to review that, make sure that it's good, and then I'll publish that blog post with MCP to GitHub, right? So using GitHub MCP server. And that's what I'm going to show you. And let's dive into the demo.
We did get a quick question while you're switching over from Cecil, who's asking, can an orchestrated multi-agent setup run across different processes or containers?
Yeah, so you can run a, if you kind of clarify that question, so orchestrated multi-agent setup can run across different basically hosting, if you will. So for example, I've got this step here, prepare video step, might be done in the container in the VM, which I'm going to show you. And then you might have a generate blog post step that uses local SLM agent, and that can run on a container if you like. In this case, I use Olama for this. And then you can also use the hosted model using Foundry, using Azure AI Foundry to basically get that that particular process done using that. So basically, that's the beauty of this kind of multi-agent sort of framework, and using agent framework is that it's really up to you how you want to orchestrate it, and the choice of hosting and where you want to host that agent is really up to you. Yeah, so we give that flexibility to you as the designer of the orchestration.
Makes
Cool.
sense.
So cool. Thank you. So let me just go through what it looks like. Hopefully you guys can see that. The idea here, I've got the code, and maybe I'll just do a quick demo first before I do this. Let me just have a look here and bring in this one. So I'm going to upload a video. So it's pretty much very simple. So I've got an MP4, just a small one for the demo, make sure that it works. So basically, I've got a video here, and I attach that using this web app, and I'll just click process video, and then hopefully we'll just transcribe it, and it will generate the blog post and evaluate it as well. And it will then present the final result to us, and we can then have the option to publish it to GitHub. So you run through that and waiting for that to happen, and hopefully we'll do that quickly. There you go. So we've got the transcript there, and pretty much it's a very short video, and this is kind of the blog post that we have generated, and we can come up with the kind of system instructions to ensure that the blog post follows the certain formats and stuff like that. Obviously, in this case, I've got kind of different headings and different sort of instructions, and within there, there is this bottom option, MCP publishing options, which basically will commit that blog post to a markdown, and as a markdown to that repo with this commit message, and that will just prepare to publish and do the process again, and I'll show you the underlying code for that too. So the blog post is published, and then we can just see the URL there. I'll just open it up. And yeah, that's basically the blog post, and that's basically based on that video, and then the transcription, and then you can see the blog post, and it will commit that markdown into MCP. Again, you can change the MCP. You can integrate that with something else if you like to use different content management and different CMS. Certainly, you can do that with MCP. So let's deep dive into the code. And what we have here is that used to be in Semantic Kernel, we have process framework, right? So that's a separate kind of package in .NET, in Semantic Kernel.NET. And what we actually have done now, everything has been integrated within the same package. So under Agents AI, using Microsoft Agent AI workflows, so using that package that allows you to take advantage of the execution and the workflow execution. And the process that we need to do is basically specify the different steps, right? So we have, so in the past, we call that step in process framework, we call it executor I think it's coming from Autogen. And what it does is effectively, hey, create the executors, and once I have those executors, I'll design the workflow using the workflow builder. So the workflow builder effectively has this concept called edge, and really what it tells you is that, hey, this is the first step, and then this is the source, and this is the target, right? So you've got the preparation, which is basically preparing for the video, making sure that the path exists, and then once the output is, once we got the output of the path, then it will pass it on to transcribe executor, and then the transcribe executor will transcribe the video, and convert it into kind of that text that we saw in that demo, and then we also have the generate executor as well, which then generate that blog post and the first version of that, and the next step is to evaluate it executor. So in this, we can use different models, right? So we can define what model that you want to use, what hosting platform you want to use. Do you want to use containers? Do you want to use in memory, whatever it is, your app service, if you want to use Azure App Service, or your hosting choice. And then after that, the final output is coming from that evaluate executor. And that evaluate executor will then present that blog post. And you saw in the previous demo is that it actually generates that, gives you that final blog post in Markdown format. And finally, once we have this, again, I'll just show you the executors. So we've got the prepare one. So everything is basically sitting under executors here. Prepare video executor. It validates the video processing requests and saves the video file to disk and stuff like that, so that it can then be processed by the generate blog post executor. And it's a bit different sort of terminology, but it's quite the same. And really, in each of these, so you can add different system chats and user chats, right? So in this case, the system chat message, hey, you're a helpful blog post writer. So it's maybe as simple as that. Or I can use instructions as well. So I basically use YAML in here that allows us to basically, be specific on what we want, right? So using this one, this is kind of the system instructions that you can sort of externalize your blog posts. It's system instructions, and hey, here's the output format guidelines, here's the title, introductions, what the challenge. So you can see that in the final results. And then finally, you have the evaluate one. The evaluate blog post executors, the main difference between the generate and evaluate is, number one, is that it uses different models or AI agent. So we use Azure AI agent. So in this case, Foundry, in the Foundry service. And in the generate blog post one is basically using the chat directly interacting with models. So this one, it uses the AI agent, and probably if I get this one here, it's a bit AI agent service. That's basically the part here to create that Azure AI agent. And you need to have the project. You need to have the new Foundry terminology in there to allow that model to be integrated, and basically interacting with a past version of an agent rather than directly interacting with the model. And finally, once we have this, we have the publish blog post, right? So the publish, which is executing that MCP and integrating that with MCP, you obviously need that personal access token, make sure that it's secret and secure. And what we have here is just a simple with a single executor. Basically, as soon as we click that button, it will integrate that MCP and it call that and list the tools and call this publish executor. If I look at the publish blog post executor in here, and this one is quite new in the new kind of new way of doing it in Agent Framework. And the great thing about it is that it allows you to use the native SDK within the Azure AI or Azure OpenAI or OpenAI SDK, depending on the the model that you're interacting. And what I have here is that, hey, I've got the chat model, and then I create an AI agent and then add the tools within here, right? So get MCP tools, and that MCP tool is basically from that definition that I have here on the top. And you get the MCP tools, probably going to have like up to, I don't know, 30 plus tools. And I pass in the instructions based on what you saw earlier in this commit message. And so once you submit that, then the blog post publish in there. Yeah, so that's pretty much kind of the process. It's quite simple. Probably not as simple in terms of trying to understanding and kind of unwrap a lot of the business process initially, because a lot of work probably around that business process, making sure that you have the right input, the right output, and then passing it on. And once you have those business process, solidified, then you'll be able to, translate that into something like this. And this is a good example of how AI agent can then, help you because there's a level of creativity, if you will, like different autonomy, as like Andre kind of mentioned, is that the generation of blog posts is not static, right? So it's not fixed, and you want that creativity from the agent to be able to come up with that blog post.
Hey Vic, we had a question from Paul, who was asking, are there retry build in the edge? Because we saw that you're using the edge when you're defining your flow.
Yeah, that's right. So if you're referring to the retries, and this is something that I just found out actually overnight, in that there is a retries in the model that's available within the publish blog post in this particular thing here. This particular line here. When you use this create AI agent using Azure OpenAI client, this is a new capability that allows you to not having to build those retries. So the problem with MCP is that if it doesn't give you the right kind of output, you need to ensure that you built in some retries. And you don't want to go beyond certain threshold or certain iterations, because otherwise you're going to burn a lot of tokens. And with this, it's done automatically with this capability, with this method that allows you to create an AI agent and instrument it with tools, and you'll be able to just run the agent using this run async. So it simplifies a lot of these process. Let me see if I can get this right. Run async that allows you to have those retries, not having to manage those retries manually.
That's cool. And I had a question too, because I never play with the flow yet with the agent framework, and I was curious. Your flow right now is very linear, and in all the other flow I build, it's always conditionals, or I'm sending it to like two different paths, like kind of like a Y or whatever, a branching. So is it possible to do that also with this framework? Sorry. Thank you. I was like,
yeah, totally, absolutely. And we have some samples available, so let me just bring that up. So within here, the .NET samples getting started workflows, you can probably paste it in at some point, is that we have this different orchestration patterns, particularly around that human in the loop, for example, or maybe there's some conditional edges. And basically start with this foundational, which pretty much what I just shown you, which is using executors and edges, and you can, once you actually graduated from this sort of basic or foundation sort of patterns, then you can take a look at that. So you can even do checkpoints on that and be able to rehydrate the business process. So, for example, you need to have a process that calls out an external system. It may take a while, and you need to create a checkpoint in your database, and then you basically can retrieve that state and bring it and resume the process. A real example of what I see is that whenever you do like agent mode using GitHub, for example, GitHub Copilot, you have that ability to restore to different checkpoint, and that's kind of similar process. But yeah, human in the loop, there's a lot of stuff in there, definitely, that you can play.
Cool, great. I was kind of sure it was supported, but that's nice that it's already part of the docs, the samples.
All right. We have a couple of other questions. So Philip is asking, how can we monitor the workflows that are running or have finished? So like, how do you know the status of your workflow?
Brilliant. Yes,
yeah,
that's a great question. So we have, with Agent Framework, there is instrumentation capability that's based on OpenTelemetry that allows you to easily extract the states of your process. And we have this awesome demo that the team has built called Dev UI. Currently, it supports only Python. However, it's available. Definitely, it's been announced that .NET version will be made available. So this one here is the Dev UI package. This allows you to basically view the state of your workflow process. So you can see here there's some visualization, there's some events that you can see, and you can take a look at the traces and what tools it made as well. So for example, weather in San Francisco and forecast, obviously LLM cannot know that unless there has been equipped with tools. Therefore, this one is very, very useful. So take a look at that, and hopefully the .NET version is going to be coming up. But the instrumentation capabilities are also available. But you basically have to equip that manually in your code. Yeah. Cool. That's a good question. And I'm going to move on to this. And again, we know what MCP is. Hopefully, basically just to quickly recap it. The great thing about MCP is that you basically shift the responsibility of maintaining your APIs, so-called APIs, to the provider. I think that's what I really love about MCP is that I don't care the underlying APIs that they have. Obviously MCP has to, the provider, for example, GitHub or PayPal or whoever will need to maintain it. But as far as what we need to do, we need to ensure that we equip our MCPs and we just call it. And it doesn't matter, for example, if I want to commit my markdown to repo, the interactions underlying that, we don't care, right? Because it's all being abstracted from us. And that's really what I really like about MCP. And the possibility is limitless in a way. You can go nuts, and you can have different MCP server. In this case, your WordPress, whatever, Ghost, CMS platform that you like, and you can easily integrate that. And that's pretty much kind of the whole talk. But if there's any takeaways, I would say 3 key takeaways is that with Agent Framework, you have ability to orchestrate control and build that multi-agent orchestration because it becomes that very, very practical. And we've built a lot of capabilities within Agent Framework to allow you to orchestrate your agents and make the agent predictable. Again, but the underlying models and the underlying LLM and Gen AI, it's all based on predictability, but we can increase the level of predictability of our agents. by supplementing it with all these guardrails and the system chat, system instructions, and then the orchestration. And we want to then be able to make the agents grounded to our business process. And this unlocks that productivity on previously not so easy scenarios. Because if you compare it with RPA, run book process automation, everything has to be fixed. And sometimes there's a lot of those gray areas or some things that are not really clear. And that's basically what agent basically gives you that level of productivity. And again, we no longer need to use process framework. Now with agent framework, it's all built in within the same package in .NET. And yeah, definitely give it a try. There's a lot of those samples. And yeah, so pretty much you got those samples here. There's a lot of shows as well. There's also office hours. We actually run, I'm in the APAC region, I'm in Australia. We run a APAC office hours every second week, Thursday, second week, but definitely check that out in the links in there. Take a look.
Which one of those links is the office hours one?
Yes, the office hours is every Thursday. Let me just grab that link here. So it's actually under Agent Framework, because I actually have it in the screen.
An Agent Framework is still like a preview release?
Yes, it is currently in preview. Correct. Yeah, it is in public preview. And yeah, we're looking for feedback. There's a lot of discussions and a lot of issues and so on. Feel free to contribute. So if there's any questions, please just raise something on discussions, because everyone, the team is actually triaging that quite regularly, and we can definitely take a look at that. Yeah.
Yeah, the response time is great. I asked a question once and I got pretty quickly an answer. That was good.
Absolutely.
That's awesome.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you.
Right.
Any questions from anyone?
I think we cover all of them, but I think people now can get involved and know where to go for questions. So folks, give it a try.
Yeah, thank you, everybody. Thank you, Vic, for sharing all those good news. I definitely will give it a try. I love workflows and automation, so I will be doing that.
Brilliant.
And with that, thank you, everybody. Note that next week we won't have a show because it's .NET Conf, so we're just taking a little break for 1 week, though not really a break since we'll be busy elsewhere. And the week after, on the 17th, Mark Miller is joining us, talking about everything he learned building AI power tool for development. So that will be pretty fun, I'm sure. So I think that's it.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Until next time.
Until next time. Bye, everybody.